They tryna turn Trenton into Baby Flint. Been signs by depression on the billboards ever since. 100 years ago we was lynched. Now they use germ warfare to kill us. I'm convinced, got the evidence. I look around and it's evident. Then go down to City Hall and see so much negligence. Real art is intelligent. A true artist sends messages that speak to your intelligence. They fought and died so I can do my thing. Not to get drunk and high or join no gang. I will not let none of you die in vain. For my people I bang, bang, bang. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. They say post-traumatic slavery disorder's fake, but I just tell them all to wake up. Everything we went through, what a way down a rape, bro. Isn't our genetic makeup. So I am my ancestors from block to block. Let's build like it's Tetris. We must unite, link up like a necklace. They fought and died and we disrespected. So I come to correct it. The legacy they left I protected. We only think about self and neglected. You're African but yet you rejected. No. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. I do. I go.
Welcome back to another edition of New Freedom Exchange, your cultural expression for community development, community dignity, social dignity, and community empowerment. I'm your co-host, Brother Deen, here with
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Marsha here.
Sister Marsha. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. The three amigos, what happened?
The three amigos. One of the amigos is taking a break.
That's all right. We're going to give him a break today. He deserves it. We got to handle some business.
Big business. I'm trying to see anyone who's here on live, let us know where you're calling from or watching us from. Shout out to all those who watch us and tune in day in and week in after week. We appreciate your support. Your
Absolutely.
Nothing right now. Let's do our check-in. I'm trying to set up this stream thing real quick, but go ahead.
Let's do I mean, the week was pretty. It was pretty good. You know, it feels like we are more into the new year than we actually are, and I guess that's just because of the, all the stuff that, for whatever reason, I choose to keep committing myself to. It's like, I'm like, I'll complain like that I don't have enough hours in my day, yet somebody will ask me to do something, and I'm just like, yeah, I got it. Give it to me. I got it. Bring it. But alhamdulillah, I love doing it, so it's fine. Work was pretty good. Got my deadlines met. Feel good about that. This weekend was good. Today was pretty jam-packed. We usually have a board meeting the second Sunday at the masjid, so we do that virtually. We've been doing that virtually for a minute now. And there was a Zoom presentation today about the impact of COVID-19 on your mental health. And so I wasn't the host on that, but I kind of facilitated it coming together. So that was my afternoon, and we are here today on this show, and I'm excited. How about you? How was it for you this week?
This week was okay. It, like you said, it does feel like we're further in the new year than actually. It's still kind of slow in our work in the new year. A lot of companies are just there's still some companies that are at full capacity. Most are not, I guess, due to the COVID restrictions. So our staffing is still kind of on the low end. But yeah, had a good time with the children. We had some Mexican taco pizza
Yay, yay. My
today.
kids was
So
trying to get me to go to Chipotle, and I was just like, listen, I'm not. Y'all gonna have to figure it out. Y'all gonna have to eat what's in this house. That kind of stuff.
yeah, so it was good times. Good time. We do have Imam Musa here. Assalamu alaikum.
All right. That's New
One of our
York.
top
That's New York in
New
the
York in the
building.
building. Our dear brother Khalid Islam. All right, Sapin, where's that at? Sapin is in the house.
Let us know where that is, because we're not sure. We want to make sure that we're representing where you're from.
Oh, that's in the northern
I'm gonna say I'll totally mess that up.
Yeah. But our dear brother Khalid Islam was one of the ones who actually invited us to start out our show on Blog Talk Radio. And me and Sister Marsha, we have our we was doing it every Monday, I believe, 7 p.m.
Yes.
And then Bilal joined the team. We kind of transitioned into the visual platform. But we didn't forget you all on Blog Talk. We're going to start, putting our audios back on there, keep people in tune with what we're doing, the support that we're getting from that generation. Today is a special day. We're continuing. This is our part 2 series of Birth in the Nation, Growing into Community. We have a dear brother, Mustafa Sabree. We're going to read his bio and then bring him on shortly.
Right. So Mustafa Sabree was born in New York in 1964 to Mary Magdalene Murphy, Mary 17X Sabree, and Charles Jackson, also known as Charles 24X Shabazz, in the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. After the death of them, he, along with his mother and siblings, made the transition to the leadership of Imam W. Deen Mohammed and have remained faithful followers since. He is thankful to God that he attended the High School of Art and Design in Manhattan, where his love for art, literature, and film grew into a lifelong commitment. He graduated from Hunter College in New York with a bachelor's in English, writing, and studio art, after which he spent the greater part of his working life surrounded by books, either in retail stores or publishing houses. Along with his brother Hakeem Sabree, he formed Sabree Brothers, Inc., a multifaceted entertainment company with 3 films, shorts, and 1 play under his belt. He is currently collaborating with his brother on both a dramatic African-American feature-length movie script and a science fiction play. So without further ado, we'll bring our brother Mustafa Sabree on.
Welcome, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on this show. And thank you very much. And assalamu alaikum to the audience, and peace to your audience of listeners and watchers out there. Hopefully there'll be something of reward or benefit you get from watching this as you have watched other of these productions, these programs. So thank you very much for having me.
And it's so befitting that you have all those books behind you. I was like, he wasn't kidding about the books. He got them all behind him.
Yeah. Over a period of time.
What we usually like to do is, even though we read your bio, we do like to give our guests an opportunity to give us their introduction of themselves, what you would want people to know about you beyond the bio that we read.
Sure. Okay. Well, basically what was in there was sort of a summary of my major background, why my thinking comes from. Basically, was formed as a child in the Nation of Islam, and then as a young adult and an adult in the transition under Imam Muhammad. Again, I love art, literature, and film. Those are the things that have really been a part of my life, most of my life. The cultural aspect of the world in general is basically where my brother and I sort of excel. That those interests, we have a big interest in the cultural life, particularly of our people, of the African American people. And so it's just befitting that we began this production of our Sabree Brothers company But also the just life that we've had has been surrounded by art and books and our mother was an educator early on. She loved to read herself, my mother, before she passed, and so that I guess that sort of was one of the sparks that got us into reading and books. And our father, he wasn't an artist per se. It was actually he who started us into art. He used to draw like little stick figures on the outskirts of newspapers that he would read. My brother and I, we used to watch him do that, and what you see your father do, you just sort of imitate as a boy. And so we just started, and we never stopped. It was just something we just found we loved, and so that's basically me in a nutshell. And so
that's awesome.
If there are more questions, anytime you have questions, I'm happy to expound on anything.
Well, right there where you just stopped at the importance of art and what is it as a message? What is art as a message for culture, right? Because people talk about culture, and some people might say music, art. There's different components of culture.
Sure.
So where does art fit in?
Sure. One of the things that Imam Muhammad said that has been probably one of the most quoted that he has said is that a word. Words make people. Words make people, and a word is anything that brings an image to your mind. So you can speak to people and in symbols, and they're to a certain extent they're actually words. Art has played a big role in the history of mankind in general, in terms of influencing how he thinks about himself and how he sees himself. One of my favorite periodicals that's no longer around was something called the Saturday Evening Post. It was a periodical that came out, I believe, weekly, and one of the artists who did the covers of those magazines was a man named Norman Rockwell. Most people know his name, and basically he's associated with the idea of the ideal Americana, mostly European Americana. But there was an image that he had created by doing those covers of those magazines that was a very pleasant and almost nostalgic view for European Americans of their life. And that helped maintain a certain semblance of peace, a certain happiness, warmth about this country and this nation. Despite the fact that those blatant racism going on towards the African American people, European American people only saw themselves in a good light with magazines like this, the Saturday Evening Post and a lot of other illustrators that did those magazines were phenomenal. It was some of the best showcasing for great illustrators. But those images helped form how European American people saw themselves. Conversely, the same thing was happening when they were portraying African Americans through art as these disfigured individuals, either lazy, big lips, exaggerating our features. Those also played into telling the world and Americans and the rest of the world how they should see us, and it worked. Many people in the world perceived and thought that we were people who were almost grotesque in our features, that we were lazy, that we didn't understand. Certainly, we were unintelligent, and these were things that were depicted in magazines, in newspapers, in serial, in comic books, everything. This is art. This is art, and this is forming the mind of the people in America, specifically European American people, but also African American. If you only see yourself depicted in these horrific and derogatory imagery, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your psyche. And so, and if you create positive art, the same thing can happen as well. If we, make a consensus effort to make quality films, paintings, cartoons, whatever, that also can have a positive effect on people. So it's a very powerful tool for communicating. Art is.
So what makes your expression of art different and unique, being birthed in a nation, right? Coming through the Nation of Islam, then under the leadership of Imam Muhammad, to present day. What makes your expression of art different?
That's a good question. Basically, it's the consciousness. It's the consciousness of the effect that your art will have and what you do will have on the people who are viewing it, and a God consciousness that you want the work that you do to be pleasing to God. That's the distinction. I mean, in Western society, there are other references that people use to sort of gauge what they're gonna put out in terms of art, what they make. You know, does it speak to you? You know, is it controversial? Is it are you just say are you being yourself? You know, so basically the references that people have in the world are not God. They're using their own personal interest. They're using the crowds, what people think in general. They're sort of figuring out, you know, what do people want. But the distinction is with our art is that we're always conscious that we're Muslim, and that whatever we put out in the world is going to reflect, should reflect rather, what we think of the world. You know, who the human being is. We want to put out images that encourage people to be better human beings, not just telling a story about you know, relationships. You know, what about relationships? God speaks about relationships. He says, you know, don't fornicate. You know, so we couldn't put out any movies that had any way promoted fornication. You know, we have to put out works, and we do try to think of things that can talk to people's intelligence. Also, you know, you want people to be intelligent. There are movies you can put out there that just sort of you know, sort of fodder that make people laugh at the base level. You know, they call it a toilet humor. But we don't believe in that. We believe that it's better to have a human being see a movie, be entertained, but also think. And there are movies, there are times that people actually make movies that do make you think. We're not the only ones who do that. But for us, that's all we do. That's our context. You know, we know that there are certain boundaries as a Muslim we shouldn't go out. That forms us as Muslims in general. And I think at this point it's good to reference the idea of secularism. Secularism. In Western society, there's been a perversion of the Christian idea of I believe there's a verse in the Bible that says, and obviously people who are scholars of the Bible can know the verse, but it says, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar, and render unto the Lord that which is the Lord. Western society has perverted that idea to mean that there are certain things and certain behaviors that are purview only to God, like your spiritual life, you know, to a certain extent your moral life, but there's also a second life that's outside of that. That's the quote unquote the real world. And so that is something that you don't have to necessarily be concerned with what God thinks about it, but sort of, you know, manufacture your thinking to fit the context of the world, the quote unquote real world. Well, in Al-Islam, there's no such thing as secularism. There's no word for secularism in Al-Islam. The whole life is the religion. The whole life is this way of cognizant of you owe everything to your creator. Everything you do should reflect your knowledge of the creator and your submission to the creator. There's no being or entity that is in competition with God. As a Muslim, you know, and a lot of people have, you know, their own views about that, but that's the distinction with us. We recognize that there's no time that we're not Muslim. You know, you're Muslim in your business life, you're Muslim in your social life, you're a Muslim in your artistic life, you're a Muslim in your personal life. All that it's Islam all the time. There's no separation of that. So I think that's where we have the distinction, is that there's no separation of our obligation to God and the world. It's the same.
So, and I'm so glad that you pointed that out, because I talk about that a lot. I see Dean smiling. Like I do. I talk about that a lot, and that there is not this one world over here and then this other you over there. And a lot of times, even Muslims, we make those distinctions to feel better about where we are and what we're doing, right? So let's, you know, I'm a truth teller at every point. We do that to satisfy ourselves, so that we don't have to feel the guilt about not being at the point or at the state we need to be. But it lends me to the question of, especially hearing you talk about what the purpose of your work is. I'm curious to know how marketable this type of work is, and how do we then? Well, I'll let you answer that question, and then I'll maybe follow up. It'll depend on how you respond.
Sure. Right now, and there has been for a while now, a tremendous market in the Christian market. I'll use them as an example. The Christians. There are a lot of movies and television shows being produced by Christians, by people who have accepted the teachings of Christ and believe in their way of life and religion, and they make movies for their people, and they're doing well. They're being successful. They're making money because they have an audience of people that they know out there who believe as they do believe and want to see this kind of entertainment that they're producing, and they're able to network and work together to build this environment where they can make movies, television shows, and sustain their life and be profitable, make money. So the question in terms of marketing is, who are you marketing to? I'm not going to try to convince people who don't believe that there's a God, who don't believe that they're obligated to God, to accept the works that we're doing. That's not I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. What I do is I believe that there are people in America and around the world who are God conscious. They may not even refer to themselves as a particular religion, as Imam Muhammad had pointed out many times, but they want something that speaks to a good moral character. They want to see more films where they can go to a film and not have to worry about 4-letter words every 5 seconds and nudity every other story, even though the stories that appear to be semi-tame somehow seem to go off the rails in some way and be sort of try to be controversial. I believe that there's a market out there of people like myself and my brothers and elders who want to see good entertainment that's intelligent, but that can still be made as a viable feature film that can be to a broad audience. I think that people want that. I see a lot of times I just watch, and occasionally you'll see excerpts from trailers from movies that are coming out. I like to watch a lot of times the trailers that are on YouTube for different shows, and people just comment about did he have to, they'll say, did he have to go there? Do you have to say that? Do you have to, is this because the people, a lot of people are really tired of what's being promoted out there as the new norm. Again, transgenderism, homosexuality, promiscuity over the top, and a lot of people are tired of it, and you don't always hear them voicing themselves. A lot of people are afraid to speak out because they think they're going to be persecuted, and many times they are. But I think that we believe there's a market out there. We believe there are people who are hungry for quality entertainment, and I always use as an example the movies from the 40s and the 50s that were made here in America, in Hollywood. There's some movies that have been around for like 70, 80, 90 years that people keep watching. Why is that? They don't have the profanity that they have now. There's not the nudity they have nowadays. Why? How are they still around? Why are people still watching them? There's quality. There's a movie called 12 Angry Men from 1957, directed by, I believe, Stanley Kramer, and starring Henry Fonda. And it's basically about a group of men in a jury having to make a decision about the guilt or innocence of a crime that's been committed. The title is called 12 Angry Men, yet there's no profanity at all in that entire film. Now, how are you going to make me believe that there are 12 white men in a room and they're angry, but they're not cursing? They did, because it's possible to do. It's believable if you give them the right context. If you put it in the right way, if you tell a good story, and if you have the ability and that's your gift, you can do it. So the thing is, I believe that there's a market out there for people who want to see for our work and what we're trying to do. That's the short answer, I guess. The long-winded answer of the short answer.
Were you going to follow up? Did you have a follow-up?
No. That was sufficient for me. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, so I just want to tie that answer and that disposition that you just presented in art and in culture. Where does that come from your experience in the Nation of Islam and transitioning into Imam Muhammad's community? Because from what I understand, in the Nation of Islam, you all weren't allowed to go to movies. You all weren't allowed to be in entertainment as such.
Right. Yes, yes, that was true, and rightly so in terms of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. What he understood was, and again, because Imam Muhammad touches on this when he came in leadership. He said, the African American people are the most influenced by culture than any other people in the world. We're more influenced by the cultural life of the society that we're in than any other people, mostly because, again, our inherent culture was taken from us. We're basically, a lot of times we're looking for something to grab hold of to sustain us. You can't really have a life or a future if you don't have something as a foundation to build upon. And we're very much influenced by the things that we see and hear, musically, entertainment. And again, obviously the most prominent example is the lie that was put in front of us as a people of a European American, Anglo American, whatever you want, Anglo person as God. That image established in our minds of people the damage that has happened to us over these years. So it's part of that conditioning that has been going on since we were brought here that makes us susceptible to the cultural life. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad understood that as a people, if we, even with his great teachings and leadership, we didn't want anything to distract us from what was being taught. So we were in a cocoon. He blocked all that stuff out from us, which was, again, brilliant. It was intelligent. It was the best thing to do for us at that time. So what that taught us was discipline. That part of the development of the Nation of Islam in terms of what we're doing is, it reminds us of discipline, how important it is to keep a focus on what's important and not be distracted by things on the outside world, not get distracted by things that are happening in society. I always go back to the famous quote that people often bring up that goes, small minds talk about people. Average minds talk about events. Great minds talk about ideas. The people who are at the top, the elite, they're the people who are thinking about ideas. They're influencing the society because they understand the concept that ideas have a bigger impact in the world than just some event that happens or a particular person. For us, the transition with Imam Muhammad was that he told us, okay, now that you've had that experience in the nation, here's the consciousness, here's Islam in its proper context. Balance it when you go out into the world with your challenge. Use your challenge, but balance it. Balance it with the religion. Balance it with the consciousness that you have and you were brought into in that through that experience and listening to him. You can utilize your talents now. You can go out and watch movies because you have a mind to be more cognizant of what you're seeing. You're not just going into the world and looking at movies and saying, "Oh, that's great, that's great." You're saying, "Wait a minute, what are they saying? What does that mean?" Oh, okay, wait a minute. And again, that was something that came from Nation of Islam too. We were taught to question, especially white people. Anything the white man gave us, we were told to question it. Everything that came to us from white people, we were told to question. That is a part of the foundation of what it means to be in a Nation of Islam was the question. So the fact that we had to take that mind, come into the leadership of Imam Muhammad, we could say, okay, so he gave us that context. Now question everything, not just what white people give us, but even our own people. Be cognizant of what's coming into your mind, what's coming into your soul, what you're hearing, what you're seeing. Is it good for you? Is it good for your religion, your way of life? And so that aspect of it. So coming from that cocoon of having that environment of questioning, then going into balancing what you have as a people and taking it into the next step into using your culture.
So you spoke about Deen just asked you a question in relation to, or brought up the point that in the nation, like you all weren't allowed to go to the movies and things like that. And so, and because you weren't, like, it was a plan to keep your minds pure and, like you said, to question and to analyze what you were seeing at the point where you were able to view it with a different lens. And so I'm curious to know your opinion on what's the game plan for getting our people back to that sort of viewpoint. And in addition to that, what's the option for our young people?
An option. I'm sorry. How do you mean by for the option for young people?
So a lot of times we'll say, okay, for instance, let's go with the movies thing. Let's say that as a community, we decided, you know what, you don't need to be going to the movies, seeing what's there. But then we take something away and we don't then give our young people, specifically our young people, we don't give them an option. And so we take things away from them and then we just leave them there to do whatever. And it's kind of like, I don't necessarily want to be connected to this because what's in it? Like, what's there for me?
Right. For young people, I obviously encouraging them to use whatever talents they have and the way they want to express themselves, to have them do that. Obviously, you have to, as a parent or as an adult, sort of try to help guide them, help them avoid some of the, pitfalls or getting involved in some of the bad stuff. But I think if you Muslim children, if you've raised them well, and they want to have some sort of expression, we should be able to help them do that. If they want to be artists or musicians and filmmakers, help them do that. Help them, experience and live that life they want to. In terms of trying to create it, the best way to do it is to just do it. The bottom line is, people, whatever people may say about Tyler Perry, and he has some issues and some faults on his behalf. He is the only person, after all these years of African American people who've been in the movie industry, to have built that studio environment that he has in, I believe it's in Atlanta. That huge property. Again, I'm not naming any names, but there were other entertainers of African American descent who've been around longer than him, who had acquired money sooner than him, and didn't do what he did. So all you have to do is, again, what he did. He established. He said, "Okay, I'm going to do it on my own, even though if other people aren't doing it, I'm still going to do it." For us, the best thing we believe we can do is put the films out there, put the plays out there. People will see it. What's the old saying? If you make it, they will come. People will be attracted to it. And Hollywood, if you know anything about them as an industry, they like to mimic. If they see a film that's morally based and is dignified and intelligent and makes money, they'll try to copy it. Now, the good thing about it is that they can't all the way. They can't do exactly what we do because they'll always pull back some way. So they'll be mimicking, but you can tell us it's not exactly what we're doing. So that we're not worried about. We're not worried about competition. As what we're doing, with all due respect, we're not worried about competition because we know that people can only go so far following a moral compass, being consistent with religion the way we are. They're going to say, okay, I don't want to go that far. Maybe I'll do this kind of movie, but not all the way. So we're not worried about competition because nobody has the courage. That's the only word that we have as Muslims and under the leadership of Imam Muhammad to be consistent and go forward and say, doesn't matter what people think is going to be successful. If we believe in it, Allah will make way for us. And just as your point initially, Sister Marsha, what the Prophet said, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, when you take something away from someone, that's even something bad or good, whatever, you have to replace it with something better. That's our obligation as Muslims. We can't just, like I said, you can't just take children and say you can't go see movies, you cover their eyes for everything, and then don't give them anything to replace it, because it's possible that if you don't give them something to replace it, something worse, they can get something worse than what you're protecting them from. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought up Tyler Perry, and the reason is because as I was hearing you speak, this entire time, I kept thinking like, you know, Sabree Brothers is like, you know, this next studio platform. So inshallah, I'm gonna be making dua for that for y'all, because I don't, as you kept talking, it just came up for me, and then you mentioned Tyler Perry. So inshallah, that's in the works for y'all.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to the point about the young people, like, I love that you pointed out the fact that, you know, let's give our young people an option to express themselves, especially since we're saying, you know, we want to be able to present something better. And a lot of times when you don't give them something to do, they will find something perhaps even worse. So I just wanted to, you know, reiterate those points that you made, because young people are super important to me, considering that I have some in my household, and I'm always like, you know, wanting to present a better option for them, but understanding that they have some things that are tugging on them in society, and so we're fighting, and we're trying to counter those things in the household. Right. But I'm curious to know, like, tell us some things about what Sabree Brothers have been doing. What have you guys been doing? Tell us about some of the films either that you have coming or you have out there, something that we can look forward to, those kinds of things.
Well, we have, as I mentioned, as you mentioned in the bio, there were 3 shorts that we had done, films, that we had, that now what I have to do, and this is on my to-do list for this year of things of my list, that ever expanding list of to-dos, is to get those films together so that I can put them on, maybe you have a YouTube page and actually showcase them. So we had done all those the shorts, and we had shown them at some masses, and actually at an event, one of the I think it was a young adult convention back in the day, but we haven't since. So and when we did this, these were like on mini DVDs, so they're not digital yet. So we have to transfer them to a digital format, and make them accessible for people to see what we've done. I think that's one thing we're working on doing this year, is have that those other films created, put on a digital platform so people actually can see them. And as I mentioned also, as you mentioned also in the bio, I'm working on a script. My brother and I working on a script for a feature-length film. I don't want to say too much about it, other than it does involve finance, and I think business, again, that's one thing that Imam Mohammed has been, again, really drilling in for us to get into the idea of business life, how important it is for sustaining our people and growing our people. So I think that if we see a film about business as African Americans, and African Americans are the predominant individuals and characters in this story, that's something that we young people, again, the same way when they saw, again, I don't want to compare things, but I think, again, when President Barack Obama, who is not African American, but who is quote unquote Black, his presence in the White House, simply him actually, and just him being there, it makes a lot of African American people, a lot of other ethnic groups, Black people, think and believe now it is possible. It used to be a time when people would say anybody can become president. You just have to work hard. Until he actually was in the office, most of them didn't believe it was ever going to happen. So, but the fact that he was there, there's an opportunity for people to believe, okay, well, if he made it, then yes, it is possible. If we make films talking about business life, success in business life, a good story that's entertaining, and people see it and they say, oh, okay, I can make a movie about business, not just about ghettos and the bottom of the barrel and just being just doing comedies. Not anything wrong with comedies, but the fact that if they see it, if somebody sees it manifest, that's what has a bigger impact than anything else. If somebody actually sees somebody actually do it, the people say, no, it can't be done. You can't do that. And then somebody does it and say, oh, okay. I think about just example of even though some people had made films before him, Jordan Peele's Get Out. When that film, a horror film, African American horror film, blew up the way it did, now there's like 1 billion and one African American horror films being made down the, in the queue. But they saw that it could be successful. People saw it could be successful. So quote unquote Hollywood started to go around and find other people that they felt could help make money for them using our images to tell horror stories. So I just hope that as African Americans, we get more into independent production and not so much depending upon Hollywood to do sorts of thing. But the bottom line is, once you see something done, people will say, okay, it's possible. That's what all you need, just that little spark to put it in somebody's mind. If they see it, they'll believe they can do it.
Yeah, two things came to mind. One, well, first, you're welcome to debut on New Freedom Exchange Digital. You know what I mean? Whenever you want.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. I was like, you want to show it to people? Right here.
Yeah, we definitely got you in that with the transfer of digital, no problem. But one thing that came to mind when you just gave that example, because I was going to ask you to speak to Hollywood or the film industry that have told our story. Like Malcolm X, your brother mentioned earlier in one of the lives he was on, that they're coming out with a new, I think something on Prime this Friday, A Night in Miami.
Yes.
And that was also Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. First, I was going to ask you, what is your take on, Hollywood or the movie industry telling our story as one who lived the story? But then, as you just mentioned, I wonder those who put those stories out there, is that their way of trying to break in and make more room for artists, African American, to come up with, more things to show, more dynamic, more than just like the typical typecast that they give us in other movies. So I don't know if that's two-pronged question.
Right. You probably have to remind me of the second part of that. But in terms of Hollywood itself, again, what was so much a blessing of Imam Muhammad's leadership was his the importance of studying. Like I said, again, this is even before his leadership, though, was the Elijah Muhammad said, go beneath the surface. The surface is not enough. Don't start at the surface, go beneath the surface. I think what helped us as a people understand something is understanding Hollywood, how it began and where it began and why it began. There's a great book out called An Empire of Their Own, An Empire of Their Own by Neil Gabler, Gabler. How the Jews invented Hollywood. Hollywood was invented by mostly European Jews, European Jewry, as a vehicle for them to affect the cultural life of America, to benefit them. That's why they made Hollywood. It was for them. They made it as a venue to make money for themselves, but also affect the cultural life of America. I use this as an example. People may have heard this story. There was a movie out called it may have been 1939 maybe, called It Happened One Night, and it starred Clark Gable, who was one of the biggest movies at the time, and Claudette Colbert. I believe it won the Oscar for Best Picture. In that movie, there's a scene where Clark Gable is in a room, and I believe Claudette Colbert's in an adjoining, or in the same room, but there's like a partition between them, and he's changing clothes. So he takes off his shirt, and he doesn't have an undershirt on at the time. It was found out that after that movie, sales of T-shirts dropped like 50%, because they said, "Hey, if Clark Gable doesn't wear a T-shirt, I'm not going to wear one. So forget about it." So as a result of him, just that one movie, one scene of Clark Gable not wearing a shirt affected the whole country. Again, that's the way the Jews intended. They intended to affect the country by these films. So what they had to do is, because the people, the manufacturers and marketing people came to them and said, "Hey, look, guys, we're losing money on this. You gotta put on a shirt." So they made another movie where Clark Gable takes over a shirt, and he actually does have another shirt on. But the point is, the Hollywood was not invented to help African American people. It was never invented for that, and it was not invented to hurt African American people. That's another thing too. You have to understand this. The Jewish people, when they created this industry, it was for them. Their own, and whatever they had to do by any means necessary, they were going to sustain their life and affect the cultural life of America. Now, they used us in terms of our entertainment value with the singing, our dancing, and the performing to, again, build their market brand. They knew that European American people saw us predominantly as entertaining them, so they said, okay, let's make movies with Black people in them, entertaining them. Well, yeah, white people, they use white people at the same way. But again, we are thinking of it as something that they're doing benevolently, and it was wrong for them to do it. Let's be very clear about that. It would have been better for the Jews just not have Black people at all in their films, because the images they put out there actually help to perpetuate racism. The racism in America lasted longer than it needed to, directly because of the effect of Hollywood and what the images they were putting out of us. Those people who hated Hollywood, you have to answer to God for that. They actually helped perpetuate and sustain racism against African American people based upon the films that they made and shows that they did. But the bottom line is, they were only doing it for their own interest. They didn't care about the effects of the people on us. They were just making it to make money for themselves. That mindset is still in Hollywood in 2021. If African Americans would just understand that. That's why whenever we keep asking, why aren't there more Black people in positions of influence in Hollywood? Why aren't there more Black directors, more Black? It's not for us. It was never meant for us. They're making movies and stuff for themselves. If they can find a way to pacify you by putting you in a particular position that's going to help them sustain their interests, they'll do it. But if not, they're not going to do it. That's the point. It's not even racism. It's just the fact that they are myopic in their view of what they want to have happen in the world. And the thing is, to a certain extent, we should have that view as African Americans. We should be concerned with our people, sustaining our life, our cultural life, not wanting to give it away to other people to let them do it. We should be believing that our life is precious, and what our culture is precious, and that only we should be doing it. That's why, if we would take that view, we could be more successful than any other group of people in the world, because they can only mimic us but so much. They a lot of movies that are being made by Afro Brits. There's a movie coming out made about one of the Black Panthers, I believe Bobby Seale, and the infiltrator who was working with the government to destroy the Black Panther Party. The lead role is being played by a very good actor, very good Afro Brit. I can't remember his last name, but he's not African American. He's from Britain. He's an African from Britain, descended from African Britain, but he's playing a role of an African American. So, but again, if we were making our own films, we could tell a story of Bobby Seale. We could tell a story of the Black Panther Party. We could tell a story of the Nation of Islam. We could tell a story of Harriet Tubman, of Frederick Douglass, of the slave trade. Everything. We have enough people with enough intelligence, with the money. We have the money. It's not a question of money. We have all the money we need to make these as African American people. What we don't have, unfortunately, is the unity and the courage. That's what's holding us back. Where everybody wants to be the head guy in charge, or the favored Negro in the industry, and we don't want to work together. But it's not that it can't be done. It's not that that they're holding us back. As African American people, we have to recognize that we're holding ourselves back from achieving the things that we want to achieve. We want to make better films. We want to have more executives in position. Then start production companies. Start making films. We have the people who have the intelligence. We have the people who have the technical abilities. We have all of that. What we don't have is the courage to lead the plantation. Hollywood is the plantation. We don't want to lead the plantation. There are some people there who've been there for years. Not mentioning any names. They're very big. They're very successful. They get a lot of money, but they don't want to lead the plantation. That's why you don't see them working together, doing anything independently. Certain names, certain big people, African Americans who are at the top, you don't see a lot of them working together with other African Americans at the top. Why? Who's stopping them? They're stopping themselves. It's nothing stopping many people from working together. So it's you have to have an idea and belief in yourself as a person and as a group that what you have is precious, what we have is precious, our history is precious, and that we can do these things and be successful without appeasing Hollywood. And what was the second part of that?
Well, you kind of smashed it because what I was saying was that I thought they were using, well, the way you framed it made it clear that um, that they're limited in their by their own selves, of course, but also because the system wasn't the environment wasn't made up to cater to them to things that would give them advancement, right? Because like
Right.
you said, if you show stories in your cultural and your heritage lifeline, that would also trickle down to the common person in our community.
Right.
So I was just asking, like, what why do they that's I guess that's what I was trying to ask.
Right.
Why
Oh, yeah.
do they use our
Right.
history?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, it makes money. It makes money. Our stories make money. If we would just have more faith in what, recognizing that without them having to give us the approval, we would understand that it's our stories make money. There's no story in America that's equal to ours. Nothing. There's nobody's experience in America is equal to the African Americans. Nobody. And again, as I was pointing out, it wasn't just us that the Hollywood exploited to make money. The Native Americans, every movie back in the day was the savages, the native savages. They exploited Native Americans imagery to make money. The Chinese, they exploited they exploited even their own people. We hear about the whole thing with the casting couch and a lot of the issues that were going on in Hollywood for many years, where they exploited their own people to sustain that industry. So it's if you take it personally, you're shortchanging yourself. The industry, as I said, was not founded by people who had our interest in them when they were making Hollywood. They were thinking about themselves, and whereas now, like I said, where if I can make a movie put Regina King in directing chair, have other African American people up front who are prominent, who are known in the African American community, and I can make money off of that, I'll do that. I'll do that. But at the same time, that's also money that's going into the companies that produce it. They may get a salary, the actors, the director, but the people who make the most money of it, the people producing it, the people who are actually putting up the money, who are making the film, and that's the people in Hollywood. It's not us.
So I have a question about community. I'm curious to know what it is that you need, or that's the Sabree brothers need from the community. Are you looking for anything from the community? And if so, what is that you're looking for? And what is it that we can do to make what you're doing successful, or just make that intention that you have come to life that much fuller?
Well, one of the things that we're going to do, particularly when we do this first feature film, because again, this is something Imam Mohammed taught us. We're going to come to our community first for people, for the text and the actors, the background, the sound people. We're going to come into the Muslim African American community first. We're going to come to our community first. That's where you see if you see your worth in terms of coming together as a to build. A film is a collaborative effort. Nobody makes a film by themselves, although people have tried. You need people to work with you. So in terms of the community, we don't need so much as trying to tell people they have to support this. What we're saying is, when we put it out there, to do it, first of all, to get it done, we're going to come to us, our people first. Then, if we can't find what we need within the Muslim African American community, we're going into the African American community, the greater African American community. But it's going to be our people, and we see that I know there's people out there with the ability. We know they exist. They just need sometimes you just need a source to come and sort of tap you on the shoulder and say, "Can you do this?" Yeah. Come on here. We're doing this. And again, the idea is to work with the community to get the people, the film off the ground. And then obviously, once you have somebody in the community on the film, they're going to naturally go out to the media and tell their friends and family, hey, this film's coming out. I did that in it. I'm here. I'm part of that. You see me in that scene? That's me back there. So that sort of stuff. That's how you build it. People see the benefit of working together as a community. Then once the product's out, then people will be more agreeable to the idea of let's do more things together. But it always starts with the first one, and that's the bottom line. It just starts with the first successful effort. And I think again, just some people with the brother doing We Buy Black, just his the energy and the idea of culminating Black entrepreneurs to come together in a marketplace and work together. Again, you just need an example of somebody to do it first. Once these people see that, I think more people will be more inclined to try to do it and work together as a community as a whole. So it's not we're not saying we're not gonna have a fundraiser telling people to raise money for it. Obviously, money is important. That's a crucial part of filmmaking. But it's more important that we have people working with us in the community on the project. That's our goal.
All right, so we'll do a stage identification. We're coming up on an hour. This is New Freedom Exchange, your cultural expression for social dignity and community empowerment. I'm your co-host, Brother Deen, here with Sister Marsha, and we've been interviewing our dear brother Mustafa Sabree, on our series, part 2 of Birth in a Nation, Growing in the Community. And we've been getting some highly influential understanding of culture and the impact of entertainment industry, so forth and so on. But as I'm hearing him articulate this, I really want to tie it back into the community values that you grew up with, because as you're saying these things, I'm going back in that time where people used to say, oh, they teach hate, they teach separatism and all this and that. But as you articulate, it's social dignity. But can you express it in your own words? Your experience with Nation of Islam, coming to working with Islam in the West, and Imam Mohammed, and so forth and so on. This sense of dignity, of self, of family, of community.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I missed it. It was a statement, but it also was a question.
Okay. Yeah, no, I thought we had station. Okay. Yes.
I mixed it all in together.
Okay. Right. It starts with we cannot begin anything in terms of understanding the distinction for us as a people and what we're doing without understanding the institution of slavery. That's where it begins. And Imam Mohammed, one of the things that really resonated with me that he said about our history and our heritage was that those of us, our forefathers who endured slavery, made a covenant with God. Like the Jews made a covenant with God, our ancestors made a covenant with God. They said to God, if you free us, let us become free. We will retain the dignity that we have as human beings and regard you always as the source. We will retain our inherent dignity always, and we will inherit what is due for people who keep that covenant with God. That has always been part of what reminded me about what was the benefit of the Nation of Islam. When W.G. came from across the sea to America and saw the African American people, many of us were in a bad state. Not as bad, unfortunately, to a certain extent, not as bad morally as we are right now. We're worse off morally now than we were during the time in the 1930s when W.G. came here and found us. But we still had some issues in terms of moral conduct, in terms of drinking, that sort of thing, some in looseness. What he did was to remind us in his language, and definitely when the army by the time it came, of dignity, of this concept of dignity that resonated with us. He had us, dressing up in suits and ties and cleaning up. The sisters dressed in white, symbolic of cleanliness, of purity, something that we could associate with, again, with the Catholic nuns. They're just in white. It was a symbol of in Christian environments, not just in Catholic nuns, but other Christian organizations. The women wore white as a symbol of virtue, of cleanness and moralness. So the language and the environment he created clicked in our psyche, reminding us of the idea of dignity. We weren't even conscious of that. That's what it was. It was that dignity that our foreparents said that we were going to retain to get the reward that God promised us, that we had in the Nation of Islam. The concept of being a dignified people is what is the overall motivating factor and for us to be successful as a group. I'm sorry, I missed the last part of that the question. What your question?
Yeah, in connection to the courage, right? Because as you're speaking about these other, I guess, external influences that we are under, and right now we're just talking about culture, we're talking about entertainment, but it trickles down, as Marsha, in community in general. So in education,
Right.
in science, right? All these things that our people are engaged in, we have a limit because of we don't have that courage to break through and to be independent. So as you're expressing it from your experience from the Nation of Islam, transition with Imam Muhammad, you're in yourself. I see that, but how can we articulate that so people in the general public could embrace that for themselves?
Oh, I see. It really comes down to something Imam Muhammad said about working in your own place, wherever you are. But he said one of the things that really is going to be paramount for us to get people to see the importance and value of being dignified is leading by example. Imam Muhammad continuously always emphasized that the people, if you want to see the society being more dignified and behaving a certain way, it starts with you being consistent with that. If you look in society right now and see the behavior of the young people, it's not as bad. It's not dire. It's not the end of the world. As a matter of fact, it's getting a lot better. A lot of the young people are really quote unquote waking up. The term is woke. It's actually a word. It's a perversion of the word from the Nation of Islam. We woke up our people. But many of the young people now are becoming aware of the psychological plays that have been used on them, and they're avoiding a lot of the traps that some of their foreparents had fallen into. But the idea is the people young people who are problematic, it's the result of the adults. Young people only react to things. They don't. If you see children acting up, they're not acting up because they say, they have a good environment, everything is going well for them. All of a sudden they say, you know what, I'm just going to act up today. I'm going to mess things up and do great. No, they're reacting to an environment of the adults that is unsteady, that's inconsistent, that's immoral. So each of us we have to work in our own place. It's not going to be a case of us coming to find some utopic environment like Nation of Islam, where we pull everybody in and we train everybody to become dignified again and become moral again. The idea is recognizing everybody who recognizes that the importance of it has to do it and be consistent about it. As parents, as teachers, as leaders in positions. If you're consistent with the moral character, if you're consistent with that behavior, people will follow you. They'll say, hey, I like that person example. I'm sure that both of you have had experience where you've been on a job or somewhere working with some people and other people, and one day they find out they didn't know you're a Muslim. They said, oh, you're a Muslim? I didn't know. It's like they have an idea of what the world says a Muslim is supposed to be. And just to your point about how people point to the Nation of Islam and talk about, we used to call white people a race of devils and that all sort of stuff. But here's what I recognize. No one ever talks about the moral aspect of what we had in Nation of Islam. Our cleanliness, how we didn't smoke, we didn't drink, we didn't fornicate. how we protected our women. The people who made an issue of quote unquote calling white people the devil were usually European Americans. It was their problem. It bothered them that their former slaves, who we were taught to believe them as God, were now calling them devils. And I always like to tell people about this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not teach us that white people were a race of devils. The behavior of white people towards us taught us that they were a race of devils. Their behavior taught us that. It's racist for anybody to assume that we had to wait for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to tell us that white people were a race of devils when you saw your children being sold into slavery, your wife being raped in front of people, your own brothers and sisters being castrated, hung, burned, destroyed. Every time we stood up, you beat us down. So you mean to tell me we had to wait till 1930 something, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad coming to us? I'm certain that the first time a man saw his wife being raped by a white man, he said, that's a devil. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't teach us that white people were a race of devils. He gave us the courage to tell white people they're a race of devils to their face. That's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's what he did. He didn't teach us that. He gave us the courage to say it. That's what I'm saying, the courage. That's what he did. He gave us the courage to have and believe that we were worth something, that we didn't have to take what white people had told us we were, how they behaved towards us, that we didn't have to take it, that we could stand up and say, that's wrong, and you put your hands on me, I'm going to make sure you don't put your hands on anybody else ever again. We're taught that. We said, if a white man puts his hand on you, you're going to make sure he's never put his hands on anybody else ever again. We're taught to obey the law. Carry yourselves in an upright manner. But if anybody puts their hands on you, make sure they are not able to put their hands on anybody else ever again. So again, behave dignified. Obey the law. Respect the law. As long as the law is not constricting your religion, not constricting your life as a human being, follow it. But if they cross the boundary, do what you have to do. So that's the distinction. We have to understand that you can be and believe that you can be a dignified, respectful person in society and not follow the trend of just being emotional and being profane and vulgar, and that you can get a reward from that. That's what you have to believe. And it only comes from work, from being consistent. It's not going to happen if you just try to do it one day. Okay, I'll follow the law today, but if it doesn't happen, I'm gonna go back to the old ways. No, that's not going to happen. So that's the thing I would say. The people who want to see change, A, have to start doing it themselves, being consistent, and B, encouraging people who, again, other people who are like minds. You have people who are like minds. You're not the only person who believes in virtue or integrity or being decent. There are other people who think that. Connect with them. Connect with them. Don't worry about people not doing that. Don't try to find people to make them do that. That's not going to work. Work with like-minded people. Find a commonality where you can work together to do something and benefit. Present something. Be consistent about it, and you'll find people who will follow you.
So I want to talk about our masses just for a second, and we don't have to stay on this one long. But as I hear you talk, it just puts in my mind that there's work to be done. Clearly, where the goal is to be able to change a mindset, and obviously the Sabree brothers are doing that through art. But I'm just curious to know your viewpoint as to how this all plays out from the rostrum, right, in our masjids, because we talk about a time where in the Nation of Islam, everyone was on the same page as to cleaning up our people. And then that then moved further under the leadership of Imam W. Deen Mohammed. And now we're in 2021. And so from your standpoint, what do we need to be hearing in our masjids among our people to further emphasize what it is that you're doing through art, which is to improve the moral fiber for our people?
I think, again, it comes back to the individual right now. I think that's one of the things that Imam Muhammad emphasized a lot towards the end of his life, but certainly even before then, that it's important if you recognize what the problem is as a Muslim of African American descent. You're in a masjid and you recognize there's a problem. you don't feel that's being addressed appropriately by the leader in charge. Again, as a Muslim, what we try to do is we always try to pull up our coattail, remind them, talk to them about the situation and ask them, well, I think this is really a problem that I see for our community, and I think we need really to work on that and address it. And a lot of other parishioners or members of your community think the same way, and you don't get the response that you think is appropriate. Like I said, Imam Muhammad, the earth, Allah says the earth is spacious. I mean, it sounds like a cop out or way out, but the bottom line is that's where the world is right now. We're in an environment where you don't have to sit under a situation where people are in leadership who aren't listening to you. There is a way to step out, find your own. Again, the Nation of Islam, a lot of times when we started off, it was in small people's houses. It started in people's houses. That's where there was little groups and stuff that came together and meet. Eventually expanded out to get property and then grow. I believe Allah will reward those people who see a problem, have made the sincere effort to talk to leadership about that. Some people may be amenable to it. That may be the case. Some may not. If they're not, you have a choice. You can sit there, grumble, mumble, be frustrated, be hurt, and limit your ability to do anything, or make a decision that find other people who say, "Look, let's move out. Let's find our own. Let's come together, pool our resources, and establish our own, because we know what we need to do, and we all want to do the same thing. Let's do it somewhere else." That would be my only logical suggestion under those circumstances. But again, I have to speak in saying that I'm not consistently going to a masjid, so I don't want to make it sound as if I'm saying there's something that I'm doing on my own. I'm saying that that's seems the most logical thing to do, at least what I've heard from Imam Muhammad, is that the world is spacious. There's a way to accomplish things in an environment that you can establish your own masjid or a group or organization to do it, not necessarily as a masjid, but maybe at some point become a masjid. But you don't need to stay in an environment that is oppressive. Oppression is worse than death. That's our religion. Oppression is worse than death.
Excellent. As we wind down, any of our listening or viewers, you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to join the discussion. Our dear brother says, Assalamu alaikum, believers on post for growth of our deen. Shout out to our dear brother. Assalamu alaikum, brother Bari in the building. Sister Khadija always on post.
Assalamu alaikum, Khadija.
All right. Makeda, Sabree. Is that your sister? Just last name?
That's a different Sabree, yes.
Oh, okay. We all family, no problem. Okay, so I guess in closing, the model community, right? You addressed it from, I guess, the current situation, but going forward in the future, you've experienced the Nation of Islam, you've experienced the transition, you experienced post Imam Muhammad, and you also have your own, like in your family, have your own individual goals and aspiration. But as a community, right, our platform here is we respect the individual, respect the family, and we respect the general society. I guess in closing, just share with us a vision or a goal that we could all share in to make this world a better place.
Okay, that's a big one. I mean, I would say generally what, again, obviously have to go back to what the Imam talked about. When there came a point in our lives as a people, African American people, when we were after slavery, we found ourselves confronted by, again, what I call real racism. What unfortunately what we're experiencing right now as the African Americans is racism light, in my opinion. A lot of what our people have become too sensitive about stuff, and we're overreacting to a lot of the problems that we are facing. They're not. It's not that they're not real, but we're overly sensitive to them. Someone puts a tweet in about us, and we lose our minds. We all go crazy, and we want to have them killed. It's like, really? It's a tweet, okay? And
I do gotta say this real quick. Did you hear? It's kind of comical. Did you hear the one about the Navy?
no,
What's that?
Well, it was a mistweet of Yahoo. I guess they heard what the president said, and he said we need a bigger Navy.
Oh,
And they thought he said the N-word.
Oh,
So they got
my
the
goodness.
hashtag in Navy. And they're going,
I can't.
sorry, I just had when you just made that point, I had to bring
Came up for you.
well, the whole internet environment as a whole. That's a whole nother discussion to just to talk about things. But back to the original concept is what I believe is that this is the best time right now for us as a group of people right now. We're seeing particularly among the European American people infighting. There are people who, again, good European American people who want a better country, want a better society. They're misguided in certain ways in terms of what some things they're accepting and promoting, but they do want a better life and a better country as a whole. And they are sometimes bending over backwards to accommodate the African American people to see that we get certain things. They want that. They feel some of them based on guilt, whatever. But just human beings in general, they're good people and want good for their life, but also want better for us. For us as a group, I think we should recognize that what will help us be more optimistic about the future is coming together and believing that the worth that what we went through in the experience of slavery and after that made us strong enough to deal with what's coming up in the future. We have people who are not depressed about the future. I'm optimistic about as a word, optimistic about the future. I think there's hope in it as long as you have a vision and believe that there is a God, and that this God is your God as well. He's not just some God for some other people, but also the people who descended from slaves. That you can work with other people. There are other people out there who have good minds and good hearts and want to do good. It takes a little digging. But again, one of the best things that we have right now is the internet, just to that extent. I mean, the world is open to us. There's so many ways you can actually reach out to other people and find people who want to do good works and who aren't pessimistic about things. And obviously you should avoid those people. If you get too many people who are always negative, always talking about problems and can never see a solution to that, you should say, okay, well, thanks. I think I'll be leaving now. So you keep away from those kind of people and try to associate with people who really believe that there is something out there in the world for us. And I see in the future, particularly for us, a bigger influence in the world. I think people, again, I think there's a thirst, there's a hunger really for quality entertainment that speaks to the intelligence of people, but also that moral character. And there's a way to do it. It's a strategy, but I just see it. I just see it from day to day, just hearing and listening to people talk about things that people want. That they just don't have. They need, for lack of a better word, leadership, and that's one thing I think that, as you allude to, Deen, about what the Nation of Islam and the Ahmad Muhammad and Imam Muhammad gave us was the courage to believe that you could be a moral person, a decent person, a God-fearing person, and be successful. You have to have the courage to believe that, because the world tells you no, that's not true. You gotta compromise some way. You gotta somebody and you always have to make certain compromises, but not with the most important and the core value ideas. And again, it's going to really happen more when those of us who want to see something done accomplish something. put something forward, make something, establish something, that's going to have a real big impact. I guess the biggest thing to take away from this is business life, businesses. One of the reasons that, and I use this as an example, again, because Imam Muhammad tells us to do this, the Jewish community. You never hear when any candidate is running for office, they'll say they're meeting with the Latinos, they're meeting with the blacks, they're meeting with women, whoever it is. You rarely ever hear them saying they're meeting with the Jews, neither Republican or Democrat. Why isn't that? Because the Jews don't care who wins the election. They don't. They have a strategy, they have a mindset, a group mindset, so that it doesn't make a difference whether a Republican wins, a Democrat wins, an independent wins, a libertarian wins. They've got a plan for whoever's in position of office. They understand business life. They understand the importance of having that impact. And it doesn't matter who's in office. Israel gets its money. Democrat, Republican. Israel every year gets their whatever $100 billion, whatever they get from us every year. It doesn't make a difference who's the president. It's set. They have that set up. So that's what we have to get. We have to establish ourselves, particularly in business life, and understand how impactful being in business is to affecting the government. That's what I would say. Work on becoming entrepreneurs. If you're not an entrepreneur, find an African American who is an entrepreneur and work with them. Establishing business life is crucial to our future, but I think there is a positive future.
Excellent. Any closing remarks, Marsha?
I just wanted to thank Brother Mustafa for being with us today. This has been a great conversation. I love the conversations when it makes you sit back and think about where you are in relation to what's being discussed. And so it definitely made me do that, especially when we talk about the media and we talk about art and how it's presented versus the life that we say that we are committed to living as Muslims. And you started off, Brother Mustafa, talking about, that viewpoint of it's one life. And I think we often get away from it being this one life experience and not like, this is my religious self. This is, this is Sister Marsha, and over here is Marsha. You know what I mean? And so, just to be able to sit back and have the reminder, right? Because today, for me, it felt like a reminder, and I appreciate those moments of having those reminders and those benchmarks and those sort of points that you get to where you're like, okay, I need to sit, I need to reflect, I need to be conscious of what I'm allowing into my mind, into my heart, into my atmosphere, what I'm allowing into my children's minds. We don't often, I feel like we're running all the time, we're busy, especially now. There's so much technology, there's so much we can do. You even mentioned that, we can connect with so many different people in the blink of an eye because of technology now. But because of it, we're also sort of moving so fast that we don't take time to sit back and have those introspective moments. So I appreciate you for doing that for me today, and for our listening audience and for our viewers, letting them know that there are options and there are some really exciting things to come from the Sabree brothers. We look forward to what art you put out there, and we're looking forward to having it be on New Freedom Exchange. And
yeah,
as soon as he said it, I was just like, we're showing it on here. Where else? But yeah, just giving people, I love the fact that as a community, it feels like that's the one thing I do appreciate about technology also, is that it's giving us the option to present an alternative for people. And I say alternative loosely because it's really the main thing, it's really the main thing. And a lot of times we say it's an alternative, but it's not an alternative. What we have right now is the alternative. That's sort of like the side of the dish. We want the whole meal. And so our whole meal is something that has a moral tinge to it. And I'm just hopeful that as individuals, we begin to have a thirst and a longing for things like that, right? Because I think about myself, I'm just, as you were talking, I was like, I like ratchet TV. I like my little ratchet shows, but I also know that as you're speaking, and you're reminding me, I also know that that's a part of me. We talk about our lower selves, right? We talk about our nafs and how those are things in us that we are working to bring to a higher height. And I feel like what you're sharing with us today about what the Sabree brothers are going to be bringing to us as a community is for us to take that step and take that leap to a higher height. So I look forward to it.
Excellent. Well, again, I want to thank you and your whole family and definitely Hakeem Sabree for giving us this insight to have this type of series, Birth in the Nation, growing into a community. Because as I'm hearing it, we heard from him previously, we heard from you now, and we have a special, another Sabree from the feminine energy. Sajda Sabree will be with us this Friday. So tune in this Friday at 7 p.m., same station, New Freedom Exchange, on Facebook and Instagram. And it's okay to go over on YouTube, like and subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It's not going to hurt anybody. But as we're having this discussion, I'm going back to 1865. I'm going back there where it's like 1776. And I see this now with the mind. Like we had an opportunity now to have a new freedom on a whole nother level. And so as we have these discussions and show how we've transitioned as a people, coming from the different developments of our stage and then coming into reclaiming our Islam, our religion of origin, though given in the way it was given and then birthed into the complete and correct understanding of it. I see it as a good opportunity for the general public as well as our people to have this courage, have this strength to break through and be successful. The only one holding us back is us. So with that being, you got something else?
Yes, just
blessings, please.
One last thing. I think just hit me when you mentioned about the 1865 and 1776. I think this is something that we should be cognizant of as African American people. Look, we went through 400 plus years of hell as a people for generations. We're talking centuries. This is 400 years. Is 4 centuries of hell, and we're still here and alive. And there's those of us who are sane. We have to be thankful. Just don't give up. If things haven't, we haven't turned the corner this year or that year. We're recovering from 400 years of the worst form of slavery ever to exist in human history. Think about that. And most of us are still here. We're alive. We're a race of people that no other race of people could have endured what we did. That's one of the things we have to understand. And so don't be discouraged by the fact that there's some setbacks and there's some people who are selling out and we have some people that are on board all the time. We can be successful if we're still alive. We wake up every morning. We're alive. We're breathing. We have comments. We have certain common sense. We have access to people who have common sense or sources that have common sense. Books. You can believe that it's possible. There's hope that the future can come. Just the fact you're here after surviving what no other people could have survived. Just that we have to believe that as a people. There's something so unique about us as a group that we're still here. And that we're making the strides that we are. So even if it's not it seems that we're going in circles, but we're not. We are actually making progress. And I just hope that our people will take that away from this experience.
Excellent. Got a couple shots out. Alhamdulillah. Excellent.
Oh, that's my sister Hassana. Assalamualaikum, sis.
Welcome. Our dear brother, another Sabree holding us down. Great show. Excellent.
Let me tell you something. Y'all run deep, okay? I don't really know your family like that, but every time I turn around, I see a Sabree. I'm like, they run deep. Like, don't be trying to get in a fight with them, y'all. That's a lot of them.
Over. Again, our dear brother Musa, Imam Musa, salute, very wonderful discussion. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, again, so next time, he just brought up something about that 400 years, so I'm going to give you all this clip, because this we were saving for our new social contract, but we're tying it into this discussion as well, and then we'll close out with a song, Freedom, with Councilman Jones, Special Jones.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Until next time, we thank you all for joining us. Again, like, my children say all the time, like, share, subscribe. You know how to do it.
That's their YouTube, monologue.
Yeah.
Yes.
So until next time, again, we thank you, brother Mustafa, for coming on. Again, open platform, anything you guys want to do, broadcast and digitize, that's what we do. We're here for you as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right. Until next time, assalamu alaikum. Peace.
Assalamu alaikum.
100 rounds of playing Monopoly. I didn't allow you to have any money. I didn't allow you to have anything on the board. I didn't allow for you to have anything. And then we played another 50 rounds of Monopoly, and everything that you gained and you earned while you were playing that round of Monopoly was taken from you. That was Tulsa. That was Rosewood. Those are places where we built black economic wealth, where we were self-sufficient, where we owned our stores, where we owned our property. And they burned them to the ground. So that's 450 years. So for 400 rounds of Monopoly, you don't get to play at all. Not only do you not get to play, you have to play on the behalf of the person that you're playing against. You have to play and make money and earn wealth for them, and then you have to turn it over to them. So then for 50 years, you finally get a little bit and you're allowed to play. And every time that they don't like the way that you're playing, or that you're catching up, or that you're doing something to be self-sufficient, they burn your game. They burn your cards. They burn your Monopoly money. And then finally at the release and the onset of that, they allow you to play and they say, okay, now you catch up. Now at this point, the only way you're going to catch up in the game is if the person shares the wealth, correct? But what if every time you share the wealth, then there's psychological warfare against you to say, oh, you're an equal opportunity hire. So if I played 400 rounds of Monopoly with you and I had to play and give you every dime that I made, and then for 50 years, every time that I played, if you didn't like what I did, you got to burn it like they did in Tulsa and like they did in Rosewood, how can you win? How can you win? You can't win. The game is fixed. So when they say, why do you burn down the community? Why do you burn down your own neighborhood? It's not ours. We don't own anything. We don't own anything. Trevor Noah said it so beautifully last night. There's a social contract that we all have, that if you steal or if I steal, then the person who is the authority comes in and they fix the situation. But the person who fixes the situation is killing us. So the social contract is broken. And if the social contract is broken, why the fuck I give a about burning the Football Hall of Fame, about burning up the Target? You broke the contract when you killed us in the streets and didn't give up. You broke the contract when for 400 years we played your game and built your wealth. You broke the contract when we built our wealth again on our own, by our bootstraps in Tulsa, and you dropped bombs on us. When we built it in Rosewood and you came in and you slaughtered us. You broke the contract, so a Target. Your Hall of Fame. As far as I'm concerned, they could burn this to the ground. And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.
Emotional, man. Bravo, I appreciate you, man. Mac, I appreciate you, man. Davey, what's up, man? It's our time, man. Listen to that. Jesse Jackson, he said that we are somebody. America treat us like we ain't nobody. We need help from somebody. I'm getting tired of seeing black bodies. We'll be okay, that's what my mama said. We unhealed, that's what the trauma said. Yes, we can. That's what Obama said. American terror, that's what Osama said. You wanna break something, go and break the ceiling. You wanna start something, go and start the healing. How you wanna raise hell but won't raise your children? Wanna burn a building but won't start building. I want the violence to decrease, whether it's the streets or it's the police. Yo, be a real one, stay away from snakes. I gotta make a change, no time to waste.
Tell me what you see when you look at me. Is it something that you hate, or something that you wanna be? Help me understand how you can be so mad at my existence. On our way to freedom, on our way to freedom, fighting for our freedom, fighting for our freedom. On our way to freedom, on our way to freedom, fighting for our freedom, fighting for our freedom.
The system ain't broken, doing what it's supposed to do, realest words spoken. Kill us in live and live in color, brother choking, called on his mother, dead in the open. Anybody go and break some glass. It take a real one, bro, to give a class. Anyone can pull a gun and start to blast, but it takes a real man to give a pass. Be proactive, not reactive. How I make a change, Bashir? Be active. Boy, you go and sell some dope, but won't go and vote. Father left early, he don't know how to cope. I came too far, boy can't fail. They said I'm a sellout. Shit, what I sell? I don't never fold, I don't never fold. And what's not for sale, brother, is my soul. Question you gotta answer, brother, what's your goal? You wanna be a diamond or stay cold? You gotta change the system. Shit, you can break a window, but they gon' fix them. My point is, you expect a racist to change? He ain't the problem. You gotta change your brain. Benefit from oppression, but when you gon' change and learn the lesson? When you gon' realize that you a blessing? Gotta work in the afterlife, I'll do my resting. When you gon' realize that you the blessing? Gotta work in the afterlife, I'll do my resting. It's the truth.
Freedom is not won by a passive acceptance of suffering. Freedom is won by a struggle against suffering. Racial understanding is not something that we find, but something that we must create. What is needed is a realization that power without love is reckless and abusive, and that love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love, implementing the demands of justice. Justice at its best is love correcting everything that stands against